Ah, beautiful France, famed for its priceless works of art and its rich culture. A nation that is effortlessly chic and boasts renowned fashion houses, as well as possessing a very tall Lego building, a complete disregard for queuing, inexplicably adding alcohol to every national dish, and producing independent films far too sophisticated for the likes of me to understand. But what does France offer fans of Football Manager? Is there really any fun to be had in a league dominated by one club? What footballing challenges does this nation offer? What sleeping giants need resuscitation? What minnows lie dormant awaiting a road to glory? Let's investigate in the League Lowdown Guide to France. Welcome to a brand new series on the FM Llama channel where we try to inspire your next Football Manager save by showing you some of the leagues that you could manage in around the world and some of the teams that might just create the challenge for your next Football Manager adventure. So without further ado, let's take a look at France. So let's start by having a look at the French league system that you could be playing in Football Manager. Now, the top flight in France, known as Ligue 1, is ranked by Football Manager as the 5th best league in Europe. And the top flight is made up of 20 teams. There are no league splits, so it's a 38-game season with teams playing each other in a conventional home and away fixture. The bottom two teams get relegated, plus the team that finishes third from bottom has to go through a playoff against one of the teams from the division below, known as Ligue 2. There are also 6 European places up for grabs. Now, depending on who wins the Coupe de France, that could all be the top 6 that are in the league. So the top 3 qualify for the Champions League, and then the teams 4th, 5th and 6th qualify for the Europa League. In a season's time, you'll also have the Europa Conference League places to compete for as well. One outgoing competition that you won't be able to compete for from Football Manager 21 is the French League Cup, a competition that has now been disbanded. So there is only one cup competition to compete for the major clubs in France. Now, below Ligue 1, we have the second tier, which is also a 20-team league. Again, no league splits, just home and away fixtures. The top 2 get automatically promoted to Ligue 1, and there's a rather complex playoff system at work as well. So the teams that finish 4th and 5th play each other in a one-legged tie. The victors then take on the 3rd place team in another playoff game, again just over one leg, and then the victors of that fixture play against the team that finishes 3rd from bottom in the top flight to see who secures that place in Ligue 1 for the following season. Below Ligue 2, we have a playable Championnat National as well, France's 3rd tier. There's only one division there, 18 teams in it, 4 of them can get relegated, and there's a similar playoff system to the one that operates in Ligue 2. Now, below that, you can load the National 2 on Football Manager, although you can't take charge of a club directly at the start of the game in that division. But what you are able to do is to get relegated into that league. So if you start off in the National and you are unfortunate enough to get relegated, then you are able to continue your game in the National 2. Anybody that does want to play at that level, or indeed the level below France's 5th tier, can do so via databases available from the Steam Workshop, which are already there for FM20 and will be available pretty soon after the release of FM21, you would have thought. So that's how the league system works. But what about the teams that you might want to take control of, or the challenges that you may want to take on in your French adventure? So clearly the most popular team in France over the last decade have been Paris Saint-Germain since their takeover by wealthy backers, and it might be that Paris Saint-Germain don't offer sufficient challenge for some people who like to start their saves at lower down clubs. But for many, there is a challenge to be faced with Paris Saint-Germain that might be very appealing. Obviously, taking charge of a squad that contains the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, Thiago Silva is appealing in itself. But there is a trophy that has so far eluded Paris Saint-Germain at the time of filming that maybe might prove the background to the challenge that you want to take on. So apart from one sole Cup Winners' Cup success in 1996, Paris Saint-Germain have been unable to seal themselves a Champions League victory. So it may be that one of the saves that you want to take on at the end of FM20 or starting in FM21 is if Paris Saint-Germain cannot win the Champions League this season, although at the time of filming they have just robbed Atalanta for a place in the semi-finals, it may be that this might provide the backdrop to the challenge that you want to take on, trying to steer a club that has a wealthy bank balance and try and take them through your transfer dealings back to the top of European football, a place that they've not experienced since 1996. But there's other clubs out there in France that provide some great challenges of their own. So let's have a look at some of the youth academy challenges that you might be able to make the focus of your next save. So if your idea of a great save is developing your next batch of wonder kids and stocking your team with players that you have grown and developed through your own youth academy, then France, my friends, may well be the ideal nation for you to play in. It has a plethora of clubs that are experts at producing world-renowned talent. Perhaps one of the best examples of that may be AS Monaco. Former academy graduates include players like Emmanuel Petit and Thierry Henry, who of course helped guide Arsenal to one of the greatest periods in their history, as well as more recent examples like Kylian Mbappe now plying his trade with the mighty PSG. You will see that they have got excellent training facilities, excellent youth facilities, as well as excellent youth recruitment as well. If there's a club in France that might be able to rival them in terms of facilities, it might be the better supported and possibly better financed Olympique Lyonnais. Their academy graduates includes the likes of Alexander Lacazette, Samuel Umtiti and Karim Benzema, who is of course at Real Madrid. They also have excellent training facilities, superb youth facilities and exceptional youth recruitment. They also have a spanking new stadium with almost 60,000 capacity, and you can expect much larger attendances than you might get at Monaco, which is a club that does not have the biggest fan base and relies more on benefactors for its wealth. But maybe a youth academy challenge is not what you're looking for. Maybe what you want from a team is a sleeping giant that you can restore to its former glory. So if we have a look at how FM20 ranked the team's chances of winning the French Ligue 1 title, you see that the three clubs we've already looked at, PSG, Monaco and Olympique Lyonnais, are France's top three teams. But in fourth place, we have arguably France's greatest sleeping giant challenge, Olympique de Marseille, a team that in the early 1990s, under the unscrupulous ownership of Bernard Tapie, were actually the European champions, with a team laced with the likes of Didier Deschamps and Marcel Desailly, beating AC Milan and being crowned European champions. But they've not won a French Ligue 1 title for a decade. They've only won one league title since their heyday in the early 90s. And with a good budget and with excellent infrastructure and a huge stadium, but with a lack of trophies to their name in recent years and a troubled political backdrop, it might just be that Olympique Marseille are the sleeping giant that you want to try and resuscitate as you try to topple PSG as the dominant force in France. But there are some other great sleeping giants to choose from in France. Maybe Michel Platini's former club, AS Saint-Etienne, are another team that might just provide you with the kind of club that you want to try and restore to greatness. So they have 10 top flight domestic titles to their name, but none since 1981, and a distinct lack of European honours in their trophy cabinet as well. So certainly Saint-Etienne might provide you with challenge. If you're looking for great names in French football, by the way, Stade de Reims might be another slightly smaller team that you can use as your sleeping giant challenge. Now you have to go much further back in history to find Reims at their heyday, but during the 1950s they were competing not just domestically as one of the top teams, but around Europe as well. Since then, they have fallen on harder times, but are now restored back to a Ligue 1 berth. But with much smaller facilities, smaller fan base, and less income, they provide a slightly more taxing challenge for people looking to restore a former great name. Now, if you go down into Ligue 2 in France as well, there are another couple of clubs that maybe not count as giants, but certainly are clubs that experience much better fortunes in bygone decades that might just require your attention. So you'll find Lens in Ligue 2 in FM20, but they were actually promoted on the suspension of the French season in 2019-2020. So they'll actually be in Ligue 1 for the start of FM21. But this was a team that, again, with players like Vladimir Smitsa leading their attack, won their only French league title in 1998 and have had no success since then. So another team that might just be requiring of your skills and expertise to lead them back to the big time, as are AJ Auxerre. Now, by no means a big club, Auxerre. When they won the league title under the stewardship of the legendary Guy Roux back in 1996, it was a similar story to when Leicester City won the title in England a few years ago. But they now find themselves languishing in Domino's Ligue 2, a much smaller team, but one that has a rich history and a place in the hearts of French football due to their plucky underdog statement and their escapades in Europe in the 90s. Well, if we return to Ligue 1, there are a host of clubs that do have some pedigree and have previously been crowned French League champions. So Lille were champions of France when a young Eden Hazard was playing for them way back in 2011. They are regular players of European football, and it's not a huge leap to take them to challenging Paris Saint-Germain at the top of the table. Bordeaux are another grand old name of French football. So they were title winners as recently as 2009. Way back in the 1990s, they had a young Zinedine Zidane playing for them, and they are certainly a team that can compete for European honours given the right transfers. Alongside them, you have Nice, who have been down in the doldrums in French football for several years, but are now back in the upper echelons of the French top tier. They have got 4 French Ligue 1 titles to their name, but you're going back to the 1950s to find the last one. So they currently have Patrick Vieira as their manager down there on the Côte d'Azur. But if you are ever going to be one of those football manager players that takes their family on holiday to the team that they are managing, well, there's no better place to go than the Côte d'Azur. So Nice might be a team that interests you. And then other larger teams such as Rennes, Nantes were title winners in France way back in the 1990s. As recently as 2001, they enjoyed top flight success. So they're another bigger team as well. Teams like Toulouse are fairly big, although they were relegated during this season when the French league season was suspended. So they'll find themselves in Ligue 2 at the start of FM21 and will need a little bit of work to get them back to greatness. But what about fans of lower league management saves? What teams are in the lower reaches of French football that might just lead to a road to glory save? Well, if you do unlock the 5th tier in France through database editors from the Steam Workshop, then there is perhaps no greater club to take control of than AS Cannes. This is a club that has a large stadium for the level that it plays at, its semi-professional status. It won the French Cup way back in 1932, but this is a club that has been in the top flight in France just a couple of decades ago. This is a club that brought through the likes of Zinedine Zidane and later developed Patrick Vieira as well. So this is a huge club by French standards in the 5th tier, but taking them on a road to glory all the way back to Ligue 1 might just be a great challenge for football managers to take on. If you unlock the 4th tier as well, then there are a whole host of different teams that you can take control of, including the wonderfully named FC Goblins from Paris, who inexplicably seem to have the same kit for both their home and away fixtures. But you'll find in the fourth tier of French football that there are 4 different groups that teams are split amongst. You'll also find lots of B teams competing from the big clubs as well, although they are not able to take up the promotion places. So there's certainly a lot of challenges out there for fans of lower league football. So that just about wraps up our look at French football on Football Manager. Certainly it is a nation that has something for every type of player of Football Manager, from those that love youth academy challenges to taking control of big clubs competing for European honours, restoring big names back to their former glory, or having enough depth to it for lower league managers to take smaller teams through the different tiers on a Road to Glory challenge. Join us next time when we'll be looking at another country. In the meantime, good luck with your Football Manager selection.